Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the dis and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on the Disability Global Broadcast and Facebook Live. Looking forward to seeing you there.
What's up, party people? It's D to the J with a roll away, and it is time. Yes, once again, after a month hiatus, My CP Does Not Define Me is back on the air. Can you believe it? I have made it back into the seat of the broadcasting table or computer or desk, as it were, and we are ready for episode 95. Goodness gracious, it's getting old, isn't it? 95 episodes of My CP Does Not Define Me, and this one is going to be a good one because I have been trying to get this young lady on here for a while, and we were just talking about it before the show. Our schedules finally opened up, and I could do it, and she can do it. And Miss Brittany Rieman, I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for being on the show today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I haven't done a interview in a while, so I feel at home.
To be able to, and that's the thing. When I was talking to her, I said, I just want this to be a conversation because I'm just going to go basically off of what you tell me. Hey guys, as you come in, thanks for tuning in. Hey Cindy, how are you? As you guys come in, please feel free to leave a comment. We are live on Facebook, we're live on StreamYard, and we are live on the Disability Global Broadcast, the DGB. So just to let you know, we are happy to have everybody with us as you tune in. So for those of us that do not know, Miss Brittany, would you do me a favor and just share a little bit about yourself and let us know the wonderful side of who you are and what you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Brittany Rieman. I am a woman that has a disability, lives with a disability. I have a spinal cord injury, a T12 incomplete, due to a car accident, my own doing, back in 2018. So it's been 4 years. So I'm fairly new into the disability world, but my story really starts, long ago. But a couple things that I do now is I'm heavily involved in my community. I'm an advocate. I am Miss Wheelchair Maryland 2021. I work for a Centers for Independent Living. I do transition and peer support within nursing facilities. I'm a part of a board for a nonprofit called the Great Escape Recovery Lounge. I'm a mother of three. I pretty much do a lot of things, and I have my hands in a lot of different pots, but my accident pretty much changed my life for the better. It got me it got me into a reality that I needed to have. My car accident was due to my own doing. I was drinking and driving, and I broke one bone, and that one bone paralyzed me from the waist down. And, I am in recovery. I am very, very involved in 12-step programs. So, I I struggled with that issue for another year. So now I'm 3 years clean and sober and 4 years in my chair. And my journey just keeps going. So I've had some trauma. I've had a lot of emotional things and stress, but for the most part, I've grown from them and I've learned from them. And, I feel like I'm doing a difference today. And that was something that I wasn't doing before my accident.
I just to hear you say that 3 years clean and sober, that's an accomplishment right there.
Mhm.
And the mindset of that on top of everything else. You the mind is a powerful thing, but there's so many things that and I don't want to say that can cloud it, but you got to be careful because there's so many things that can take it over. So I want to go back a little bit. You mentioned, I think you said a T12 incomplete.
Mhm.
Can you what is a T12 and what does that mean?
So, your spinal cord, there have a bunch of different variations, but I'm in the T12. T12 is pretty much like right underneath your lungs, or right underneath of them,
Mm-hmm.
middle back, or middle to low back. But it's your spinal cord, and it's incomplete. I'm an incomplete because my spinal cord didn't get completely severed. The one bone burst, fractured, and kind of just shot into my spinal cord. So they had to get all of the little pieces and then reconstruct my spine. Actually took a piece of my rib and then some cadaver bone and had to redo it. And so I don't have feeling from my waist down, but I've gained a little bit of mobility, a little bit of strength. But for right, I use a wheelchair 100% of the time. So
how difficult, and a lot of people have asked me this question that I've asked a lot of different people that are paralyzed from the waist down, because I know several people who are. How difficult is it to transfer from being paralyzed from the waist down?
So I actually have quite a bit of trunk control. I had to learn how to redo everything. I had to learn how to sit up again. I actually had a brace on for about 6 weeks to keep my spine straight and keep me straight up. I had to learn how to dress myself. I had to learn how to transfer. I had to go to the bathroom. I mean, all of it. But I was pretty determined to do as much for myself as possible. It even got to the point where I overexcelled in physical therapy and was like, well, we have not much to teach you anymore, so here you go. But for me, it's not that difficult. I have I drive, I break down my wheelchair, I transfer anywhere. I mean, if I find a comfy booth, I'm usually in it. So it's not too difficult for me as far as transferring.
Cindy said, I love how you explain your disability, and I can tell you've been in front of the microphone before. That's why I'm just like,
couple times.
But I mean, some people are very unfamiliar with their disability because it's scary to them. So let's go back a little further. You're before your accident, you said, it was of your own doing. Were you living life in the fast lane, nothing could touch you kind of thing?
I guess you could put that way. I was a mother of 3. At my time of my accident, my youngest was 8 months old. My oldest was almost 11, and my middle child, she was 7. So I played a pretty picture. For most people from the outside looking in, it looked like, I was heavily involved because I was taking my kids, to their practices and going to their school events. I pretty much looked like your ordinary typical person, but on the inside, I was killing myself pretty much. I come from a lot of trauma situations. Like I said, I have family and I grew up with alcoholic and addict parents. I'm the oldest out of 6 children. So I grew up, as a mother figure very, very early on. And I saw a lot of things that children shouldn't see. But I did the best with what I had and with what my parents had too. Because me now in recovery, I understand, when you're in that mentality, when a lot of things have happened to you and you don't know how to deal with life on life's terms, or you don't know how to communicate how you're feeling, moving around all the time, trying to reinvent yourself, trying to take care of siblings, trying to be an adult when you're a child, has an effect on you. So, fast forward to me being a parent myself, I would drink. Prescription medications were a very high priority to me because I could function. I was the super mom. I can clean my house. I can do all of these things. But really, like I said, I was killing myself and I was trying to drown out a lot of traumatic situations and a lot of pain and agony. I was one that wouldn't touch alcohol. But until I think I got alcohol until like my mid 20s. After I had my second child, and I broke up from that relationship. I started working in bars, and it was just an easy get. And from the minute I drink it, I'd black out. So it was never just one drink for me. It was never just one pill for me. It was until I couldn't feel anything. And a lot of situations happened. I drove drunk many times, and I'm very, very, very thankful that I never hurt anybody through all those years. I've crashed cars. I've dinged up a couple of trees and a couple of other property damages, but regardless, I'm glad that I did this to myself and nobody else, because had I done this to myself, this is something that's very hard. You have to mourn your old life. And so and then in that mentality, I didn't think I had a problem. The night that it happened, I was bartending. It was St. Patrick's Day night, or St. Patrick's Day. And, I had a rowdy crowd, but I promised myself I wouldn't drink that night. I didn't, but you're not thinking about the pills that you were using 4 or 5 days in a row and you have no sleep, but the drinking, I'm not going to drink that night. And then, an altercation happened. I had to kick some people out. And at the end of my shift, a couple patrons stayed behind, and, somebody had to say was, do you want a drink? And it was like, yep, sure do. And then I blacked out, and I went over railroad tracks, through the woods, railroad tracks, down like a 7-foot embankment. And I hit the middle in the ravine. And, the only injury that I sustained was I had internal bleeding, but was my spinal cord. If you saw me in the bed the next day, you didn't know anything was the matter with me. And looking back at those pictures, I could tell something was wrong. Seeing pictures of me today, full of life and bright and, joy, like that wasn't the same girl sitting in that hospital bed. I was very pale. My face was sunken in.
Yeah.
I did not look healthy at all, and I wasn't healthy. So, but then that disability, as an addict, my mind thought, okay, well, I don't have to go on the street for my favorite thing anymore. I just go to my doctor. And it was very easy. Very, very easy. All I had to do was roll into a pain management clinic and they would give it to me. And then there was a couple times throughout my first year of my disability that I tried not to take them because I didn't want to. I wanted to stop. And, I had one doctor tell me, he's like, are you sure, I can just write you a prescription, just in case, not taking into consideration that I'm an addict. So, my doctor tells me, okay, that's fine. And I did it again. But, that last prescription was a week before my 1-year anniversary in my wheelchair. And I was supposed to go down to Florida to visit a girl that I met in the disability community shortly after I got disabled. And my mom found me and I was passed out, and she took my whatever left that I had, because, I had a full script, but in a week's time, it was pretty much gone. And, my mom had to tell me, she was like, I don't know if you're going to have a place to stay when you come back. And, for my mom to tell me that and all the things that I went through, my mom, it kind of hit me a little hard. And I got on that plane. And when I got on that plane, that spiritual bottom hit me. And I had a lot of bottoms, but that spiritual bottom hit me. And I was going down to Florida to celebrate my 1 year of living, and I was not living. I was dying. I was killing myself. So I went down there, and, I did have some fun. I did my first things in my wheelchair. Got back behind the wheel. I went to my first concert. I went to the movies. I went to a dance club. Like, my friend showed me all of these great things. And I was detoxing, and I felt my paralysis for the first time. And, people think that paralysis just means you don't feel nothing, and that's not the case at all. I was constantly, my body is aching and in pain 24/7, 7 days a week, does not stop. So withdrawing and then feeling your paralysis for the first time was a real big eye opener. When I came back to Maryland, I knew I had to get to work, and my mom and my stepdad laid down some rules, and I said, okay. And then I started to get to work, and, my mom was a part of 12-step recovery all of my life. So I knew where to go, and I started going to meetings, and I started getting myself connected. And one thing just happened after another. And then shortly after that, Shannon Minnick got a hold of me and decided to tell me that, I had a story and that I needed to go and, go try my hand at Miss Wheelchair Maryland, and I did for my first year, and I didn't get it. I got first runner up, and then the second year they actually picked me at, because of the pandemic we couldn't have one, so they asked if I would like to be Miss Wheelchair Maryland, and that again, another story, another door opener. And then I got my job working in a Centers for Independent Living, and that was a huge thing, because that opened up my eyes to really like all of our issues in the disability community, and that I have something that I can contribute and that I can offer to that. And so my whole life and everything today revolves around service and being honest and open about who I am and how I got here. And I'm not ashamed. There's a lot of people that don't like to talk about drugs and alcohol, but it's a real reality. Things are happening every day around you. It could be doctors, it could be lawyers, it could be police officers, it could be judges, they're all over the world. So if I like to open it up, then I'd like to just tell you how I feel and what I've gone through.
That's kind of the couple things that I'm noticing in this. Taking ownership of something is very difficult, especially when you're so deep in it that you don't even know it's an issue, because it feels natural.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things that you mentioned. It was an easy get. When you work in bars, you're around alcohol all the time. You're around wild people. You're around funny people. You're around yelling people. Hey, come here. Woo! Just sit down, take a load off, have a drink.
Yeah. Not many people can do that. Some people can, and I applaud them, and no disrespect to any of them, but there are people out there that can't, and I am one of them.
But see, but again, for you to state that and to realize that after what you've been through. So I want to go back yet again. That you said, that luckily no one was with you and you were the only one involved with your accident. So when you were drinking and all of this and going through with what you were going through with, the painkillers and all that, did your kids see any of that?
They did. My older two, they saw a lot prior to my accident. And then I didn't drink alcohol after my accident, because again, I'm thinking the alcohol was the problem, but then, it slowly but surely realizing the medication was too. And, my son when my son came to the hospital, I promised him before that I would never drink again. This would never happen. And that's just another broken promise. And he was very upset with me. And it was very, very hard to see your son being like, you promised me. And, I can't take back anything that I've done in the past. Right. And I have to own up to those things. But I just have to be a better person and a better mom today. I can show up for my kids today. My older two live in Virginia. I drive 2 hours every other weekend, and now it's going to be summer, so now it's going to be at their discretion because they're teenagers. But I drive there, and if they need things, I go, and I want to show them that I'm not the person that they saw, and I'm not that mom that just didn't know how to handle things. Now I'm here. I want to be here, and I want to make things right, and I want them to know that they don't have to go through the things that I went through.
That's so powerful. To hear you, and I agree with Siobhan so much. Your explanation of all this is absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Ownership is one thing, but you talked about 3 words that you said when you got on that plane and that spiritual rock bottom hit you. You talked about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize what rock bottom is because they've never hit it.
Yeah.
And when you hit it and you realize that you're there, there's 2 things. You can stay there, or you can realize that when you hit rock bottom, you have nowhere else to go but up.
Right.
And I love the fact that you said, my mom told me I might not have a place to come to when I get back. I think, like you said, that was the realization of, oh my God, I got to do something.
Yeah.
I got to figure this out. I know that I wasn't part of it, and I know that but I'm proud of you for what you've done, because it takes one heck of a woman or a person or an individual to say, listen, this has got to stop. I got to get to work, because when you've got all these things that you're struggling with, alcohol, drugs, pain, you're dealing with things from your past, it becomes this giant ball. And there are things in my past that I've dealt with now. Luckily, because I've seen drinking tear some people up, and I've seen it happen. But the thing about you is to hear your passion in where you are now from where you were. That's the every dark cloud has a silver lining. And I'll be honest, if it weren't for God, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I'm not afraid to say that. But in the same sense, the people that are on here listening to this, the people that are here are supposed to be here. And we're slowly getting more and more and more. And they're listening and they're going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Because there's a realization of you don't have to do it alone. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm in here now. I'm fighting the battle by myself. It is a battle. Alcoholism is a battle. Drug overdosing is a battle. Using is a battle. It is a constant battle. And there is help out there. And all you have to do is reach out. And I do want to talk about Shannon. Because when Shannon grabs a hold of you,
yeah, she grabs a hold of you. She does. She does. But I want to go back to what you said, that might not be your vice though. You know what I'm saying? That's my vice. That was what my experience was.
Sure.
A spiritual bottom to somebody else can be, their children getting taken away, or, that they lost their house, that they lost their, job. If you want to categorize, I was a functioning addict. I had the car, I had my kids, I had these things, but I was slowly were going away. I went to jail. I went to mental hospitals. I tried to commit suicide. Like, there was a lot of and those weren't my bottoms. Those weren't my bottoms, even though those were close. It was just, it's that flicker of that choice of like, what am I going to do? I need to do something. And then it's me revisiting all of those scars, all of those wounds, all of those things that I had to go through, and wondering, why did I act the way I did? How did I get that far? What made me feel that way? So it's really it's a feelings disease. If my feelings, it could be I'm in a great mood. It could be I'm in a sad mood. It could be I'm angry. It didn't matter. It's a feeling disease for me. So whatever, I have to rewire my whole brain and how I think and how I act, because I am an addict, and my addict tendencies come out in very different forms. Whether or not it's attention, whether or not it's shopping, whether or not it's intimacy, whether or not I have to make sure I'm aware of these things. I have to make sure that when these behaviors are coming back and that old Brittany's coming into play, I need to look at, okay, what's going on? And it's that daily inventory of like, okay, am I doing things for the right reason? Am I doing them for selfish reasons? Am I doing these things for somebody else? Because I was a people pleaser too. Yeah. So I took and care about everybody else but myself. And I lost myself in those things. So, when I came into the disability community, because I was in recovery, because I knew that like-minded people, like I said, my mom was in recovery. I gave my mom her first 1-year medallion when I was 13 years old. So I knew what groups were like and what they meant. And so when I got early into my disability, I found those groups. I was on Facebook. I was looking for women in my area. I was looking for, wheelchair users and spinal cord injury, and trying to educate myself on what my life was going to be like. And I went out to Rolettes, out to LA to meet the Rolettes at 5 months injured. And it was one of the most amazing experiences I ever had. And when I came back, I was like, I need to find my people. And that's where I met Shannon. And Shannon, me and Shannon now, I mean, she's like a big sister to me. I love her. She's a mentor in any type I have, kind of anything that I need to know, I go to her. I send a lot of people to her. So if Shannon, I'm sorry if you've been getting a lot of phone calls from other people because of me, but because she's a plethora of information. I look up to her, and that's somebody that I want to be like when I grow up. and I grow up in this disability world, like, to be able to help so many other women. And she's done that for me. She's put me into the Miss Wheelchair Maryland organization. And then she also helped me get my job for Centers for Independent Living. And that's that in itself, CILs in itself, anybody who doesn't know what a CIL is, it's a Centers for Independent Living. Each county has their own. It's a resource center for people with disabilities, ran by people with disabilities. So about 51%, if not more, are people with disabilities. So, I got a job because she helped me find my strengths and my weaknesses and how to work on those things. So, like, community is key when it comes to things like this. And now I get to meet people that are newly injured and don't know where to turn, and being like, oh, well, this is my experience. And I know somebody with this experience, and I know somebody with this experience. It's an amazing, and it's not just wheelchair bound. It's anybody with a disability. It's anybody with a disease or not, anything. Like, so that world in itself.
I think it can affect you any way around. Absolutely. No matter what type of person you are. And I didn't want to cut you off there, but there's two things I want to mention here. I have a question for you, but I want to read this, what Siobhan said. I love the fact that you actually have accountability. I mentioned this to DJ before. I love how she spelled out DJ. Sorry. But a lot of times as disabled people, we don't take accountability for things that we have done. I could have done better. I salute you. That's what I was just saying. For you to own up, that's a whole state of itself. These comments are pouring in so fast right now, I can't keep up with them all. But when something happens and you talk about a powerful topic, and this is the question I want to ask you, because we've already almost hit 30 minutes. I'm like, no. What was the point where you realized, okay, I've got to fix this now? And what's the first thing that you did? Was it reaching out to people to start getting yourself in the working mode to the realization of, I've got to change this? Something inside of me's got to change.
So, like I said, I was gifted with having people in my corner way before I was ready. I would go to these meetings and I'd be, not giving my full attention, or being high as gas prices now. But there was always people there that were waiting for me to make that choice. It had to be my choice. I couldn't do it for my kids. I couldn't do it for my job. I couldn't do it from me being a disabled woman. I had to do a change for myself. So when I had that decision, when I went down to Florida, like, okay, I need to get to work. I came back and I went to a meeting and I picked up my 24-hour. So I admitted that I was, I relapsed and that I need help. And I got somebody in the fellowship called a sponsor, and they are somebody that goes through the 12-step, that has gone through the 12 steps, somebody that I admire, that I see potential, somebody I like to look up to, a mentor, so to speak. And, I started going through my step work, and step work is a lot of self-evaluation, going back to surrendering and, accepting a spiritual guide, a higher power. It doesn't have to be God. It doesn't have, it's just something other than yourself, and really asking for help. I am one that is a very independent, don't need no help, don't ask for help, but I had to ask for help. So, it was hard at times. But it was really just being around people that were smarter than me. That's one of my favorite sayings. If you're the smartest one in your circle, you need to get a new circle. I love that. I can't grow from anybody. They're going to tear me down before I can build anybody up. So I need to be around people that have an idea of what I'm going through, how they got through what they went through, and give me solutions. Like, I need solutions. I can't be stuck in a problem. I have to find a solution. So in order for me to have a solution, I have to admit when I'm wrong. I have to be willing to accept all that it comes with, and open-minded to anything that I'm not used to. And that's pretty key in my realm today. Like, I have to be honest, open-minded, and willing to every situation, because I don't know where it's going to take me.
I think that applies to so much of everyday life
Yeah.
in any situation, because you have to admit, you cannot deny, you have to admit, you have to accept, and then you have to deal with it. You
Mhm.
have to come through, and dealing with it is not a snap your fingers and it's done. It's not a, okay, this is it. I know I have a problem. I don't have to do anything.
No,
You got to dig.
it's big.
You got to crawl.
And I'm
You got
still
to,
digging and I'm still crawling. I'm still working. It's a working progress 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 until the day I'm rested and do not wake up anymore. End of story.
see that right there, that that's where you can see the maturity in you right there. This is not a, okay, because I'm going to tell you, I was, when I was 15, I was I don't need no help. Nobody touch me. I do everything on my own. No, you don't know nothing. Can't, can't tell him nothing. I had to learn that help is okay. Now, my problems are a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
but that's very much the I don't need any help. I don't want any help. When you are able to allow yourself to realize that it's okay to get that help, and then the you kind of feel the to let go of that hard. We all get this hard exterior outside, and sometimes it's so hard that it goes into the inside. And look, the
Mm-hmm.
show's not even over with, and all already. Can you have her back for part two? She has a great story. This is the effect right here of people listening to this who are struggling and going, is there an end? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? There is, but you've got to crawl toward it. You've got to dig toward it.
You
You've got to
kind of have to
climb.
light it yourself sometimes, but then let other people carry it too.
Mm.
You know?
So you found that avenue. When you I want to go back to something you said earlier in our wonderful story here, in your wonderful story. You said you felt your disability for your first time, felt your paralysis for the first time. What was what was that like for you when you were rehabbing and when you were coming out of it and when you realized what you had? How were you able to process it, to go through it? What did you do?
You know, to be honest, I still deal with it today. I'm working from home. I'm lounged in my bed, my feet propped up because I have, it's very painful. It's very uncomfortable. When I first felt this, I was like, this is how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. This
Mm,
is what I got to do all day, every day. And I can't take nothing for it because I cannot trust myself because I abuse narcotics.
mm,
That's a hard pill to swallow when you have that debate that, well, it'll make me feel better, but then it won't make me feel better.
yeah.
It'll kill, I'm just going to slowly kill myself because there
Mm,
will be no Brittany. So like I still struggle with that today. Some days are better than others, but the thing is I keep myself vigilant in my work and in my family and in my life. There are times where I have to listen to my body. I have to lay in bed. I have to, just deal with it, but it passes. I wake up the next day not feeling as much of the pain I was in the day before.
mm,
And then I go on. So, it's just like life. Some days are easier than others, but when those days are, I appreciate the good days. I appreciate the days that I get to break my chair down 20 different times, hopping in and out of my car, getting my kid, my youngest, which is now 4, in and out, and going to meetings and going to work and going to nursing facilities. Like I get to do that today. I
mm.
was not going to be able to do that had I not dealt with these situations or be real about, I still have these issues. These things aren't going away, but I deal with what I've got and I do it the best I can.
You are able to see your life happening because you're dealing with what you had to deal with before. And
Yeah.
that's so this next question may be kind of hard, but I'm going to go ahead and go there because I love how you presented it. You talked about, breaking that promise to your son. How is it now being able to say, I'm dealing with this, and I'm sorry that I broke that promise, but I'm gonna do my best not to break anymore. Does he see the difference, the brightness, the happiness, is it better to go to him and say, this is the mom I wanted to be?
You know, the great thing about my kids is they just see their mom. They just see, the person they love and care about. Man, they get me emotional. DJ, get me emotional talking about my kids. My son now, he's about to be 16. He's going out for his first job, and he called me yesterday and was like, I had my first interview, and we talked, and like I get to talk to him today. I get to have that relationship, and it's not broken promises anymore. It's just being the example. I don't have to promise anything, because you can't. There are some things you can't promise.
Sure.
And I don't want to ever do that again. So in order for me to keep that relationship open with my children is just being real and being the example, and letting them see when I'm hurting, and letting them see when I'm happy, and letting them see my struggles. But they just see me as mom. Sometimes they even forget I'm in a wheelchair, and it gets under my skin sometimes, but then it gives me a smile, because they don't see those things. They don't see my flaws. They see all of my strengths, and they love me for who they see the woman that I've wanted to be for a very long time, and they bring that out in me a lot.
One of the things that you just said, I've waited to hear on this show for 4 years, and you just said it. You know what it is? I've let them see me when I'm hurting, when I'm sad, when I'm this, when I'm that. We as people, whether we're disabled or not, whatever problems we deal with, we have to be real with ourselves. We have to be real with us as people. Yeah. I'm surprised I haven't started crying yet, because it's to go through life. You can't go through life faking it. You can for a period of time, but eventually that almost said something on the air. Stuff will catch up with you. But I love the fact that you said it's not necessarily broken promises anymore, because you can't promise everything.
Yeah.
You can't promise some things. You have to be. I love the fact that you're being Brittany, but you're being Brittany because you want to be. It's the accident may have slowed you down a little bit. You've had to readjust, and you've had to come at it from another angle. But failure is not an option. It's just another way of getting things done.
Yeah.
But children, and I don't have kids, but I'm good with dogs and babies. It's women I have a problem with. I just say that now. But children, the things out of the mouths of babes, man, you're like, they see you and love you for who and what you are. They don't care that you're in a chair. When they're around it, and when they know it, and when they understand it, and when they're exposed to it at an early age, they will know. And it's a powerful thing to hear you talk about it, because it's so many people are afraid of it. I was saying earlier before we started talking, a person with a disability can't have children because they're going to get that disability. That's not true. That's not true.
It's just misinformation. That's all. My daughter, my youngest one, she was 8 months old. So when I was injured, so this is all that she knows. This is all the mom that she knows. And let me tell you, she is one of the most compassionate, smart, intelligent little certified nurses I've ever had in my life. She and she's in preschool. She's actually about to graduate, and I go to her school on a regular, and all of the kids, they see me and they think but I teach them. I have kids come up to me and or they'll say something in the grocery store, and I'll overhear them, and it's ask me questions. I'd rather you ask me than you be scared or not know what to say, or ask questions. Some people aren't as open as I am, I'll admit, but for me, I'd rather you come up and ask me than you make your own stories about what I have to go through. And so I will sit there, and I've sat there many occasions for probably about 45 minutes at my daughter's school answering all those kids' questions, because now they have an idea how to approach somebody or treat somebody that has a disability
as an equal.
Yep, as an equal.
And that's But see, again, that 45 minutes that you spent, and I'm so glad we're covering this because there's something inside of here. We cannot hide ourselves. We should not have to hide ourselves from the quote unquote normal people, because I'm about as unnormal as you can get. Everybody has their own normal.
Yeah.
And I think with you being able to go to a school or going and speaking and going in nursing homes and doing all these things and working with Shannon and helping people, you have, your canvas was one way. Okay. Life started one way. And now you look at the painting that you're creating, and I'm going, geez, holy cow. Just keep it together. Hold on. And it's like you hear it, and I'm going, ow, ow, ow. But getting through that ow, ow pain and getting through that, I went through this and I did this and I experienced this and I lost this. Look at where you are right now.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, some days it's hard. Some days I have to stay in bed. Some days I have to, put my feet up because I'm in pain. But the next day I keep going.
Yeah.
I just, Siobhan, oh man. Siobhan is a lot like Shannon. She is, we've been friends for a long time. Please excuse me if this comes out wrong. But that accountability piece looks so, I hope I'm saying that right, looks so sexy on you. You, my different abled sister. I'm so serious. I don't know you, but I have to respect you for that alone. Accountability equals sexy. Lol, be well.
I agree.
I love Shannon because she's very real, and so are you. And that's the thing. You cannot hide what's in your heart, and you cannot hide who you are.
Right.
You can try for a long, and you may be able to do it for a period of time. But I love the fact that your kids, that's all they know, because they don't have to think anything different because it's what they've been around.
Yeah.
But I think people, if you could, and this is kind of getting into the questions a little bit, but basically where you are now, with all the speaking engagements that you've done and being Miss Wheelchair Maryland 2021, Lord have mercy. I can't even, me walking across stage waving, no.
Look, I didn't think that was going to be my fate either. When Shannon said something to me, I said, I'm a ex-drug addict, right? Like, I'm not, I'm not somebody you put a crown and sash on, but that organization, it's not about beauty. It's not about, it's about your story. It's about your voice. It's about a platform that's bigger than you. And this platform is bigger than me. My platform was substance abuse in and out of the disability community, because every time I open up my mouth, whether it's in the able-bodied community or the disabled body community, somebody either said they have a problem, they think they have a problem, or they know somebody who does. And that to me is everything for me. Just being who I am and sharing my story, that's what I do on a regular basis. I'm just me. And it took me a long time, and I'm still finding out who Brittany is, because this new Brittany is only 3 years old. I don't know any other life besides my old previous
what
life.
You knew before.
Right. So now I'm stepping into a world that I don't know, and I can sit here and admit I don't know. So I'm going to experience how I've experienced and share my experience, and that's all I have. Anybody else's experience or anybody else's opinions, they matter just as much as mine do. So I'd rather use my voice to help others rather than to keep a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And I don't
oh boy, does somebody need to put that one in the comments. A closed mouth does not get fed. Wow, that's powerful. Let me go ahead and ask this question. How do you like the new Brittany now, being that she's only 3 years old and you're still figuring it out and you're still walking through it, rolling through it, going through it? How do you like the new Brittany now? What are you saying to her?
I can honestly say I love this Brittany today. I couldn't tell you that I loved myself. I couldn't look at myself in a mirror. I couldn't, and this was all standing. This was all being able bodied. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I was disgusted at who I was and what I become. And I was just a shell of a human being, a dressed up trash can, all of these nasty feelings. And I just dressed it up to act like everything was okay. But now, like, my wheels have given me a whole new superpower. Like, I love the woman that I am. I am so much more happier on wheels than I ever was standing. And that's my own truth. I am able to actually walk past a mirror and be like, oh, you look good today, Britt. Or, you did a good thing today. Or not even getting any ignition out of anything of what I do, recognition of anything I do. Just knowing that I'm continuously just being me. I have people that love me for who I am and not what I can give them today. And that's amazing too.
And all of that you just said was brought out by one change.
One. Yeah.
One change.
My wheelchair saved my life. I may have put myself, my higher power always gave me that tap on the shoulder, but I'm hard-headed, so I needed to really get that tap. And finally I got that tap. And when I got that tap, it took a little bit, and it's still taking time, but I'm just honored to be a part of the disability community, because this community in itself has loved me way before I even knew I was a member. Just like my 12-step program, they loved me before I even knew I was going to be there. So I just want to do that for the next person.
We mentioned her earlier, and she
arrives.
So she, again, and there's always, and I find in every story, there's always that somebody that, not necessarily just one person, but there's some kind of pivotal turning point, either when you meet that person or see that person or come to a realization and say, look, I've got to change this. I've got to do this. You have done so many great things. Continue to strive and just be you and do what you do, because you do some awesome stuff.
Thank you.
And there's so much, we got about 15 minutes left, and there's still, 2 segments that I want to cover, but just to hear this, it's powerful because, number one, you went through it, and no one can truly understand unless they walk a mile in your shoes or go through it. And I'm sitting here listening to this going, and I haven't talked as much as I usually do because this is powerful. So I'm just like, and I knew when you were talking, I said, this needs to be heard. And I'm not going to interject unless I, want to ask a question. But one of the most powerful statements that you made throughout this entire broadcast and is I had to change. I had to realize when you use the word I and you put it in the context of not everybody else, you can pass the blame if you want to, but pretty soon it comes down to the people that we are. It comes down to what we have to deal with, and then it comes down to what the individual has to deal with. Now, in growth, you got the right soil now, you have the right people now, you have the right nourishment now, and your kids have stayed with you the entire time. You're right. You could have lost that. It could have been much worse, and the fact that you were thankful, and to hear you say your wheelchair changed your life, that's a statement. I'm going, whoa, like I always said, when I was born with CP and when I realized what I had, it gave me the ability to slow down and look at my life in a different way. Because life is always go, 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 go. And everybody's always running. I don't have that option. So I got to slow down and take it piece by piece. But when you do that, you look at the grass and smell the flowers and look at the sky and say, oh, that's a pretty blue. Because you acknowledge those pieces. But pretty soon those pieces come together and you've got a story. And that's exactly what your accident did. That's exactly what you overcoming the obstacles that you're still overcoming to this day did and will continue to do.
Thank you.
That's powerful. You are not just a powerful woman. You are a beacon for people to go, listen to this. This is a hard story to listen to because I'm going, hold it, don't you lose it. But in the same sense, I'm going, that's painful. But life is not easy. Life is not that smooth road that everybody wants it to be, where sometimes it's way up here and sometimes it's dropped down so far down deep you in a hole. But as long as you keep climbing and you keep fighting and you keep digging, you can get out of it.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you one other question, and I've got a little segment the two little segments that I told you about. If you could speak to your former self, and I think this question applies so much more. I've asked this question a lot of times, but I want to ask this one. If you could say anything to your former self right now, if you could go back and speak to that Brittany that you were before, what would you say to her?
Be easy on yourself. Love yourself. You're more special than you really think. Because I didn't think that I was worth anything until 4 years ago. That you're strong enough to go through whatever comes your way. And just be honest and be you.
You are worth so much. That is.
You got me crying.
It is that realization is and I guess in that darkness, we feel that way because it's heavy. It's heavy. I wrote these questions a while back, and some of these now I'm looking at them going, yep, this is going to apply. So I want to ask you this, and I want you to just relax and think about it because it's fun too. As of today, what is your favorite sound?
My kids laughing.
What's your least favorite sound?
My kids yelling at each other.
Keeping it clean. What's your favorite word?
Oh, well, I can't tell you that.
Do you have a clean favorite word?
I do have a clean favorite. Love.
What's your favorite smell?
That's a good question. I have this. There's a fragrance that my boyfriend has, and that's one of my favorite smells. So as of right now, I'll just say a Sean John cologne.
What is a subject in school that you loved?
History.
When you open your eyes in the morning, what's the first thing that you think about?
Thankful to be able to wake up and open up my eyes.
Let me get one of the better ones down. I'm going to change my sheet real quick. If you could have one superpower in the entire world, what would it be?
I think I would want to fly.
If it was your last meal on Earth, what would you have?
I would have sushi, volcano roll, Godzilla roll, and a ginger ale.
Woo! That's detailed, man.
Yep.
Godzilla roll. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Oh, they're great.
All right, this last question. Now, it's kind of a two-parter. If you could change one thing about your disability, would you? And if so, what would you change?
To be honest, I would just want to go to the bathroom on my own. It is one that I still struggle with on a regular basis, and for me just to get up and go to the bathroom and then get back in my bed in the middle of the night would just be heaven. But that would probably be the only thing that I would change.
I have to say, in 95 episodes of My CP Does Not Define Me, this is one of the most powerful episodes I've ever done.
You.
It literally, to see success through what you had to battle through and what you're still battling through, it's hard enough to battle through it, but to come out on the other side of it and go, it is possible, and to hear this and to that raw emotion that you have, and because I wear my heart on my sleeve. I have cried more times on this show, and I'm going, and the funny part is, when I first met you, I'll be honest, I didn't know you. I said, I have to have her on my show. And I did not know why. So I asked Shannon that I let her know that I was going to reach out to you. And I'm like, she's going to be too busy to do my show. And I'm like, you know what, DJ, don't assume that. Don't do that. She's a normal person, just like you are. Just pick up your big boy britches and type the message. And I'm like, fine, I'll just ask her to be on my show. But you know what? I had no idea that when I opened the fridge, that buffet that was going to be in there.
Oh, thank you.
I would love to have you back for a part 2, because I think as an interviewer, as a person, as an individual, as a beacon of light, you are a lighthouse for so many people in this world, because you've been through all the that I'm not going to say in this time. And there's so many other people that are where you were, that are trying to get to where you are, and they find it, I just can't get to that hurdle. Your story has grabbed a hold of so many people today in this. That's what I say. When I say this is a powerful episode, when I came back, I was told by my boss, come back refreshed and ready to go, because I needed a break. I was tired. I'd done 95 of these things. I'm like,
it's a lot.
I'm like, I don't know. This is just, I don't know how much longer. You have revitalized me.
Thank you.
In a way that I realize the effort that I put forward, but it's not about the effort that I put forward. That's only half of it. For you to come out and do what you did today takes guts. That's hard to deal with this in here, and you ripped open that wound, pull that Band-Aid off, and you go, ow, it's still sore. That's powerful, Brittany. I'm going to tell you. I look forward to more of your successes, and stay with me when we get off the air, because I definitely want to schedule you for a part 2.
No problem.
This was powerful, and I just want to say thank you for being on the show today, because it was totally awesome. I hope that wasn't too California. Totally awesome.
No, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed catching yours. I don't get to catch your show as much because I am working, but I try to go back and watch them. And I mean, we need people like you too, DJ. You do a lot for our community, and you do a lot for the CP community, and you show that we both show. There's a lot of people even that are probably watching. Everybody, one thing that Shannon did teach me is that the most powerful thing that I have is my experience and my story. And that's everybody. That's everybody. You don't know who goes through what at any given point in time. And when you're honest and open about who you are and what you've experienced, that's it. That's one of the most easiest cake things to do, but at the same time, one of the realest and hardest things to do. So, just you do it. Thank you for you doing what you do, and thank you for letting me just share.
You're welcome, sweetheart. I'm so glad to be able to do it. Cindy, my she's our group mom. She's been in my corner for a long time. She said she was the best person to have on your show the first show back. I couldn't agree more. She said, I'm surprised I didn't cry.
I think I just did it for you, DJ. That's all.
Look, I cry over flowers blooming. That's no, it's the pollen.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, guys. Listen, thank you all for tuning in. Real quick, if you want to follow me, if you want to catch me, you can email me. mycpdoesnotdefinememe at yahoo.com. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can catch me on YouTube. Worth the Wait Cooking with DJ Carter. My CP Does Not Define Me. Chairmaster Games. You can catch me on Twitter. My CP Does Not Define Me at Minion Sports. You can catch me on Instagram. My CP Does Not Define Me. Catch me everywhere. My new CD drops June 7th. My Chair, available on 60 platforms, 30 days after that. And guys, thank y'all so much for being a part of this. And if I always say as we close out, hang with me, Brittany. If you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. This is D to the C to the Dr. J saying we'll see you next time on My CP Does Not Define Me.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. As always, you can catch us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the Disability Global Broadcast and Facebook Live. If you haven't already checked out our YouTube channel, My CP Does Not Define Me, we post all of the show videos in our My CP playlist. I'm your host, D to the J with the roll away. And if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. We'll see you next week.